Record. Doing it. Perfect. Get that going. Word. All right. Welcome to this week's edition of the 10X Business Owners Mastermind Group call. My name is John Pyron, the business doctor, and I'm excited to be here. So the title of this is episode 204. And we're just going to call this, what do we call this? So, your business systems suck. Okay, that's going to be the title of this call. Okay, so I'm excited about today's topic specifically, and I want to get everybody's feedback because I've been doing this now 34 years. I just launched my eighth company personally this year. And so you guys are going to be seeing the branding and the name change of this mastermind call, this mastermind group, wherever this is featured. Okay, it's going to be going from the 10X Mastermind Group to an organization that we are forming called Kingdom Impact Consulting Group. And so we have, if you're watching this in the Facebook group and you've been involved in that Facebook group since April of 2013, you will notice a name change. And so, and I don't want to butcher it, Gene. So if I get it wrong, feel free to jump in and correct me. It's called Kingdom Impact Mastermind Group. Does that
Yes.
sound about right?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
All right.
right.
So, um, and I'm not going to go into the story why that is. That's not why you guys are here. That's not why you're listening to this podcast or watching this YouTube video. I want to get to some meat and I want to get to it quickly because I know everybody's time is short and valuable. And so here's the deal. Start a business. I just started Kingdom Impact Consulting Group. Okay. It's my eighth one. Now, what you don't know, maybe you do or maybe you don't know, is well over 11 years now, I've been consulting business owners. And I'm up to, I think, about 937. Well, actually, as of yesterday, because it took on another client, 938 business owners that I have either consulted, talked to, worked with, given advice to, worked with for years, etc. So the only reason I mention that because this is definitely not about me. I am literally saved by grace, and if you knew my past, you'd be like, "Oh my God, if this guy could actually do what he's talking about, and his past and what he's done, I can do anything." So I'm hoping to give you some hope here and help you to understand you can accomplish any goals you want in your business. You really can. I talked to a gal yesterday, and I'll kind of sidetrack for a minute. But I was talking to this person yesterday that was referred to me, and I'm going to introduce her to you, Jay, by the way, because apparently she's in your backyard. She's soon to be in my backyard because I'm moving to Farragut, Tennessee, with my boy Jay Hornbuckle here. Okay, he already paid the way. See, there's a good system right here. Get with a business coach or a friend who's been where you want to go and learn from their mistakes and from their experience versus trying to experience it on your own. So all of a sudden, I've known Jay for a long time, but he has become a really good close friend and he's getting closer because, I'm moving where he's at. He's already been there. So, Jay might think I care a lot more about him now for whatever reason. No, I'm just kidding, by the way. But Jay's got info that I need, right? And so when you're building a company, when you're building a business, the very first system you need to put in place, I don't care if you got the concept in your head or if you are a client of mine. Like I have a $10 million roofing company I'm consulting right now. They've been in business for 34 years and their systems suck. Okay. Now, it makes a serious amount of money, like a serious amount of profit. But I've been hired to help him get that company to a point of selling the business. And my hope was to get it to that point within 90 days. and we just finished up our first 90 days. That's what I was brought in to do, is to fix a bunch of stuff. But the more I got in there and started peeling back this onion, I'm realizing this is a mess. Like, I don't even know how this thing is holding together. There's so many band-aids. Okay. So I'm going to come back to that story. Let me go back to the lady near Jay. We started talking. She's been in business about 3.5 years. She does marketing, right? She owns a digital marketing agency specifically focused on medical professionals, dentist office, medical offices, private practices. She's also looking to do attorney firms and engineering. And so we're having a conversation. And I said, okay, well, what's your goal this year? Where do you want to be by the end of this year? She says, man, I would like to get my business to the point of making $100,000. Now I'm going to pause and let this sit in for you. Keep in mind what I just said. 3 years in business, a digital marketing agency, meaning she does marketing. Okay. It's not just her, but she has a team. Has a company. It's almost like a franchise that she represents. And she's talking about, I would like to do $100,000 this year.
The business.
Yeah. In business.
The business doing 100,000, not her bringing home.
Correct.
Okay.
And or no, 100,000 in income. Okay.
Okay.
So after talking to her a little bit more, it really comes down to she only really needs to generate 130,000 in actual business. Okay. Now, the only reason I'm pausing here to let this sit in, because some of you are like this person. Nothing wrong with her, but some of you are like this person. You've been pounding and pounding and pounding and pounding and pounding and pounding, and you're not getting to where you want to go. And so I said, well, what did you do last year? Oh man, there was 2 months that I did 10K. I'm like, okay. So you still didn't come in at a 6-figure income? No. Okay. Do you think the plan that you've been using and that you have is not being successful? She goes, well, yeah, that's why I'm talking to you. I go, okay, good. I just wanted to check. I got to do a checkup from the neck up in a lot of cases. And I'm not being judgmental, because I was that guy. Okay. I was that guy when I hired Jay Cuccia as my first mentor. And for 3.5 years, he kept telling me, okay, you need to read 10 pages a day. You need to contact, you need to contact one person a day. Just one person, no, not 25 people, 30 people. Over a 24-hour period, you got to contact one person. Just one person, John. That's all I want you to do, brother. One person. Okay. And I want you to associate with people at your social, economic, and ambition level or above. So I want you to read 10 pages a day. I want you to listen to an audio, 30 to 45 minutes of audio every day. That'll get you to where we go. And I want you to associate. And I want you to contact one person a day about your business. And I was so scared to talk to a stranger that I let that cripple me. And 3.5 years later, he goes, you know what? I can't work with you no more, dude. Like, you argue for your limitations, and I'm going to let you keep them. And that crushed me. Now, fast forward. Let's go back to our case study, if you will. So I said to her, I'm like, listen, here's the first thing I want to tell you. I want you to go out and get a book called 6 Months to Six Figures. Okay, it's by a guy named Peter Voogd, Voogd. I'm going to put it in the show notes, Peter Voogd. Okay, when I ran across this dude, heard him in speaking at an event, got his book, I'm like, this sucks. I'm like, Peter, like, well, what do you mean? He's a best-selling author. I go, yeah, I know. I should have wrote that freaking book. Because every single thing he's talking about in that book is true. That's exactly what you got to do. And I said, let me tell you something. Here's the deal. Read 10 pages a day. Listen to 30 to 45 minutes of audio. Okay. Here's a couple of podcasts I would recommend for you in your space. Okay. Here's the first book I'm going to recommend you. Once you get through six months to six figures, I want you to read it again. Then I want you to read it again. Then I want you to read it again. I want you to read it 7 times before you move on to the next book. It's a system. Okay. Because you can have the greatest business in the world. You can have a $10 million company and make a boatload of money. And then when you go to try to sell it, you can't because your systems suck. And at the end of the day, we're talking a guy that's been in business for 37 years, multiple companies. You would think he could figure it out. Why the hell does he need to hire me? That's what you would think, right? But no, we're human beings, man. Let's be honest about it. We have faults, we have failures, we have flaws. Like, we need help. Okay. I mean, Kingdom Impact Consulting Group exists because there's so many principles in the Bible that can help us. Why do you think God created the 10 Commandments in the first place? Was it so we can meet them? So we can actually be successful with them? No. He created them to point out, oh, we will never be able to measure up without some help. We need some help, man. Which is why he sent Christ, which is why Christ did all he did, so he can go to the Father and send us the helper. So we can we need a mentor. So I told this lady, I'm like, listen, your first mentor is Peter Voogd. Okay, you don't need to work with me. Okay, in fact, you can't even afford a strategy session right now. And you don't need one. I'd love to do one with you, but you don't need one. You need to start with this book. Okay, you need to have him as your mentor for the next 7 times you read the book. Get the audio version too. In fact, listen to the audio, follow along with the book. It's like him talking to you. And if you don't understand, here's the cool thing about books. If you don't understand what the author is trying to say, you can press pause. You can go back. You can have an imaginary conversation with the author and go, what did you mean by that? Can you repeat what you just said? And you go back and you read it again. And then if you still don't get it, you know what? I dropped out of high school. So I'm like, you got to repeat this to me, man. So I go back and I read it again. I'm like, I got it. Got it. Thanks for clarifying that, Peter. You see how much more powerful books are when you look at them in that light? How much more powerful podcasts are when you look at them in that light? You can pause it, you can go back and you can ask the question, hey, what did you mean by that? Oh, let me replay. God, I could have had a V8. Now, some of you are too young to remember that commercial, but there's a lot of older people like Jay here, and especially Dan right now. Never mind. We'll talk about the senior citizen care home here in a minute. No, I'm just kidding. Anyways, it's a system, is the point. Okay. So the system is this, and so I promise you this: if you read 10 pages a day and read the book 7 times before you move on to the next book, that's something that Jay didn't teach me in the beginning. That's something I've learned over years. It's one thing to read 50 books a year, which most CEOs do. But what they don't tell you is the top CEOs read about 5 books 10 times. Okay, because you got to take the material deep. Then get some audio and listen to 30 to 45 minutes of audio every single day, even if you got to listen to it 7 times before you move on to the next one. And then associate with people that are at your social, economic, and ambition level or above, at least once a week. And if you compound that 52 weeks out of the year, you are going to be a changed person this time next year. And so I said, here's what I want you to do. I want you to do that. Okay. And Danielle, just so you know, that's Maria, the person you set me up in the call, right? So we want to put her, because this is a system. Okay. Danielle does business development for our company. Like, she's the guru when it comes to promotion. Okay. And so, if you want to set an appointment and really understand your marketing and how to actually promote your business, you need to get a hold of Danielle. Okay. So dcollins@johnpyron.com. Just a little short commercial there for a minute. Okay. So here's the deal. 3 months from now, Danielle's going to follow up with her. She's going to magically appear back on my calendar. I'm going to have a conversation with her at that point. I want this person to succeed. Even if there was nothing in it for me, in this case, there is something in it for me because apparently, Jay, and looking at her town, she's only 3 hours away. Okay, that's like me driving from Rockland, California to San Jose. So that's short. Okay. And so she's got tenacity and fire in her belly. She just needs systems to go out and learn how to go out and get new business owners. And I'm going to pour all the time and energy. I'm like, do you know what a PEO is? And she goes, no. And I go, well, you need to meet Jay Hornbuckle. Okay. You just moved from Vacaville, California 3 years ago, or actually a year ago, out to Georgia. Jay's been out there a little bit longer than you. He could probably introduce you to some people, and you could probably introduce him to some people. So now we got a system, right? We got a POI system. We got 2 people from California wanting to dominate the East Coast, and they're gonna get a chance to meet each other. It's a system. Okay. So now, because you're reading, because you're listening to audio, because you're associated with people, your skill set's going to improve every week. And you're going to grow and you're going to make money. She will plow through. She needs to plow through. Realistically, she could plow through 6 figures in less than 3 months if she just does what I'm talking about. There's no reason she can't do it. I know, because I've helped a lot of digital marketers do that. I've helped some digital marketers get to 7 figures and 8 figures in less than 3 years, because it's hot right now, especially if you have embraced AI. Okay. And so once you have the systems in place, you want to literally have some tools, right? Like you're probably listening to this podcast or you're watching the YouTube video, and you see here it says Kingdom Impact Note Taker. I renamed it because it's a lot more fancier, instead of just Gene's Note Taker, And so it's a tool called Fathom.video. We integrated here. We have Zoom. We are recorded on Zoom. We have, some AI tools in the background. So when I'm done with this call and I click end, now here's the cool. Here's everything I'm about to say right now is going to make you $1 million, and I want you to go back and repeat this. All I did today is show up, hit launch, press record, and start talking. After I'm done, I'm going to hit end meeting, and I am done. Jean here is going to take it, and she's got all kinds of magical stuff that I don't want to know about. I don't care about, but she geeks out on, because that's her world. She's like, creative. Like she loves this stuff, and she's going to take this recording, and she's going to create all kinds of magical, well over 100 pieces of content. Why? Because it's a system. And if you don't nail down your marketing system, you're not going to be able to nail down your sales system, because you're not going to have anybody to sell to. And then once you have your marketing system down, your sales system down, now you need your operational systems. So I did a joint venture. I practiced this. I created this Kingdom Impact Consulting Group. And if you're a coach or consultant and you want to join our team, go to kingdomimpactconsultinggroup.com, click on book appointment, schedule a time. Danielle will talk to you. And if it's something that aligns with our mission and our values, we're going to set a meeting, we'll talk, and then love to have you as a coach or consultant. So I got introduced to this HR consultant. This guy's been an HR consultant for 37 years. Okay. He came to me because I have a POI system running. One of my POIs is a lady named Serene Anderson with Tri-Counties Bank in Folsom. Serene Anderson and I meet once a month for coffee. We're meeting next, I don't know, Danielle, you got access to my calendar. We're meeting, I think, Tuesday next week. We're meeting sometime next week. I'm going to her office in Folsom for our monthly sit down. Okay. And Gene will send you the POI video series to show this. But here's the point, because I meet with her on a monthly basis, her antenna's up. Okay, so she's on Facebook. She's browsing around. She's in these neighborhoods, right? If you don't join the neighborhoods, you're missing the boat. Somebody posts a thing. Hey, I'm looking for someone to help me with my IIPP. I'm like, IIPP. I've heard this somewhere. Okay, and so I'm like, oh, illness and injury prevention program. Okay, it's something that's required by Cal OSHA because I'm in the country of California. Okay. And they have all these rules and regulations. And if you're a company, you need to have an IIPP program. Even if you're a bookkeeper. Okay. You need to train your people not to be stupid, is basically what it means. California says everybody's stupid, apparently. Okay. And we need you to waste all this time, energy, and effort as a small business owner creating a 10 or 15 page document that says, hey, if the stove is hot, don't touch it. I'm just using that as an example, right? It's like, hey, by the way, that's fire. There's fire coming off the stove. Don't touch it. You're going to get injured. Apparently, I guess we need a document to educate people to don't do that. Well, anyways, that's a sidetrack. So I reached out to my go-to number one HR company. Okay, I'm like, hey, because she became a client of mine. I'm like, hey, she goes, nah, I don't really want to get involved in that. I'm like, okay, who's your go-to person? She says, this guy named Brett. I'm like, get hold of Brett. Talk to Brett. Brett and I talked. I'm like, Jenny says I can trust you. She says she wants to adopt you. I've never met you. Okay. I'm looking forward to adopting you myself, hopefully. Let's talk about how we can work together. We had a conversation. I explained to him the situation. Okay. Got a hold of the person because all Serena did is like, hey, you should talk to John Pyron. I think he can help. I have a system. I go to my script because I have a document called scripts. I created a script that worked one time, and now it's in my script list. Okay, because Eric Lofholm taught me that. And so I grabbed my script, I pasted it in there, and I said, I would love to help you. I've got all kinds of experience. I'm the blah, 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 blah. Because there's 45 other people that are quote unquote experts in there. Okay. Posted it in there. She sends me a DM. We get on the phone. She asks me questions. Come to find out, I go onto Facebook. We got all kinds of people in common. We get on the phone with Brett, and I'm like, hey, I hop on there, and I'm like, negotiating the deal, and I closed the deal. Now I closed, and I don't, so now I got a new best friend, Brett, that I just closed a deal for him. One of these days, he and I are going to meet in person. There's a message there. Some of you want to wait till you have all your ducks lined up in a nice 1, 2, 3 order before you actually go do something. Even if the car has a flat tire, you still have to get to a safe place to change it. I'm going to tell you, some of you are arguing for your limitations. I sense somebody is going to be watching this live YouTube video, or somebody, even on this live call, maybe. You don't have to raise your hand, or you're listening to this audio, and you've been pounding your head up against the wall for a very long time because your systems suck and they're not working. And it's time to get them fixed. The people on this live call, Jay Hornbuckle, right here, owns a company called Abatis. Did I pronounce that right?
You did a great job.
Look at me. Look at that.
Yeah.
PEO. Okay, I've known Jay for a long time, and I had to double check that I even pronounced his company name correctly, right? So PEO, right? So professional employer organization. Workers' comp. I'll just go as far as saying this. If you have employees, you need to talk to Jay. Okay? If you have employees, it probably keeps you up at night. In fact, you think about your employees every single day of the week. If you're a business owner, I know this because you're thinking about payroll constantly. Payroll's coming up, payroll's coming up, payroll's coming up, payroll's coming up, payroll's coming up. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Yeah, Jake can help you fix that. Jake can help you fix all kinds of stuff. Okay. Gene Ortiz, marketing genius extraordinaire, can help you figure stuff out. In fact, when I talk to Gene, I'm like, listen, man, because it's a system. Okay. I've had 4 people in my life that are strategic hires, like strategic, like the most important hire you ever make in your entire company. And I don't care what kind of company you have. Everybody needs someone like Gene. Okay. Now, Gene, and Gene will correct me if I'm wrong. My interview went like this. Gene, have you seen the movie Iron Man? She goes, yeah. I go, you remember Pepper Potts? Yep. That's your job. Any questions? Well, what do you mean? I go, anything I need, whatever I need, however I need it, it's your responsibility. I don't want to figure it out. I don't want to Google it. I don't want to hire the people. I don't want to talk to people. I want to talk to you and you only once a day. And I get to fly in like a seagull because a lot of you are deep personalities. I get to fly in like a seagull. I get to dump all my stuff and I get to fly out. And Gene figures out what to do with it. And I said, if you can operate like that, dude, we'll run. Like we'll both make a lot of money. And so after about a month and a half, I'm like, I found my gal. I found her. Oh my God. And so what did I do? And here's a message for all of you. Now, if you're an employee, listen to this, and you're a Gene, okay? Go to your boss and go, listen, man, you need to double my wage. And watch him or her just go, what the hell are you talking about? Go, listen, I'm going to cover your back. Okay. I'm going to make sure that you look great. I'm going to make sure that all the follow-up is done. I'm going to make sure that you don't do any damage to your reputation or your company. I'm going to make sure that everybody, all the wheels turn properly and they're properly oiled. Okay. I'm going to make sure all the systems get done. Because at the end of the day, if you go and get Dan Sullivan's book written by Dr. Benjamin Hardy called Who Not How, it's not about the how-to. It's not about you as a business owner learning the how-to of these systems. There's not enough time in the day. You need a who person that loves to figure out systems, and that came down to Gene. I'm like, I don't want to figure this stuff out. I have no idea what she does on the back end. Like, I got a great website. I got to love it. Like, Dan Knapp hosts johnpyron.com. He does an unbelievable job. Okay. Hands down, web dude. I have been partnered up with Dan for well over 5 years because if you are a small business owner and you don't need some super duper fancy e-commerce, this Jupiter's got to line up with Saturn type website. Okay. You just need a website that looks good, is protected, secure, and maintained. And when you need something done and uploaded and updated, Dan takes care of it for a fee that you're going to spend more on money per month on lunch. Dan's your guy. That's why Dan owns my website. That's why my website's hosted at Dan's place. Like if Dan disappeared, I would be like, I don't know that I'd be in panic mode because he's got systems in place that cover his butt. But the one thing that Dan provides is if I have a problem, I can pick up the phone and the dude actually answers his phone. Why? Because he and I worked together for a year and a half. He's a client of mine. He has systems in place. Michael Colello, okay? He and I just started working together almost a year ago. Unbelievable accountant, tax guy, systems, right? You need to have those systems in place. Now, how do you start? Well, go back and listen to previous recordings. There's your homework. Third episode of the month. Just 204 minus 3 or 204 minus 4. So episode 200 is obviously systems. Okay. And every month since 2013, there's systems on there. And get your systems up to date. If you want help with that, get a hold of Danielle. but it starts with a 4 list exercise, and you chisel away one at a time. So that way you can be free to grow your business. Okay. And by doing that, you get to the end of the day, like this client I have, it's only going to take me maybe, I think we had a big breakthrough last night. We're going to implement what I came up with. We'll have the business ready to actually sell within the next 30 days. But it's got a lot of work. Like there's so many things that have to be fixed that should have been done right out of the gate. Okay. So if your ambition is to one day have a company that runs by itself, that's what you want to do. So I went far beyond the talking that I wanted to do, and I want to get some questions. Okay. So I want to open it up real quick. And anybody have any questions about what we've talked about, what I've talked about, clarification, or maybe you have a business problem or challenge that you want to talk about and you want some coaching and some masterminding from the people that are on this call. Everybody here is a business owner. No one. Okay. Great. Jay, you unmuted yourself. What's up?
One, just saying hi. This has been fantastic. One, I always love John's energy. Don't you guys all love John's energy? He moves at a pace that makes sense to me, and I definitely love that. And you know, you're talking to people about having an individual question, where I feel like in my business, I have 80% of it running right, right? Any system, everything I have going, everything's running, but it's not running at 100%. And yet sometimes you have a hard time figuring out where that 10 or 20% isn't at. What do you as the business doctor do with your clients on trying to find out why the engine, you're starting your car and it's getting you from point A to point B, but it's just not humming? You understand what I'm asking you?
Yeah. So let me reframe the question so I can make sure I'm clear and I can understand and I understand.
Absolutely.
You have a business going that had a lot of great success up to this point, but you're just not there with
Yeah.
those
Like
systems.
your roofing company, man. You're making, you're a $10 million a year company. I mean, I'm a 7-figure type company, and yet you're not at that level to take it to that next. If you're a 6, you want to go to 7. If you're a 7, you want to go to 8. You're an 8, you want to go to 9. And so obviously I know how to, you know, do a low 7-figure company. Got it down. I want to take it
Yeah.
to 8.
Yeah.
I'm a low 6-figure company, right? I'm the person you just described, that, making $100,000 a year, 130, whatever. Yeah, very simple, 6 months to 6 figures. I mean, all those kind of things. But now you're that person that's like, man, I really need to be able to double, triple, 10 times that, right? I want to be the 10 times person. And yet it seems like things are humming okay, but my engine needs to be finely tuned.
Got it. So first of all, the first place I would start is number one, giving yourself a high five for being frustrated. Okay. Now you're like, what the hell are you talking about? Well, successful entrepreneurs, successful business owners are never satisfied. Okay. The moment you get to the place where you think you've arrived,
Amen.
that's the beginning of the end. Okay. Because the most successful people in the world never actually hit their goals. Okay. They do. They just don't hit them in the time frame that they set out to hit them. Okay. There's a Dan Sullivan did three, in my opinion, three beautiful works. It's probably his lifetime work. He's number one business coach in the entire world. Okay, he's still alive. but nobody on this planet has coached more businesses than Dan Sullivan. Okay, nobody on this planet has coached more influential people than Dan Sullivan. You name the person, the icon, he's coached them. Okay, people pay millions and millions and millions of dollars for, the information in his head. Great, good for Dan Sullivan. Here's the deal: Dan Sullivan started a business from nothing. At one point, he made his first dollar, just like me, just like you, Jay. Puts
Amen.
his pants on one leg at a time, gets up in the morning, has to take a piss just like all of us do. Okay. At the end of the day, what he's done is he's used his time effectively and he's prioritized his work. So by you being at that point of going, God, there's just more I can do here, that just simply means you are a seasoned business owner. Okay. So the first place you have to do is go, okay, here's where I am. You take a baseline of where you're at. Okay. And in the world of business, there's basically 4 to 5 areas. You got marketing, you got sales, you got operations and service delivery, you got administrative, and you got finance. Okay. Take a baseline on all those systems. Where are we at? Okay.
To who?
Yeah, Siri's trying to get involved in the conversation here. And so here's where we are. Here's how much revenue we've generated. Everything that we've done here has created this revenue because we're measuring a business here. It's not a nonprofit. Nonprofit's a whole different scenario. But we're in a for-profit business, so revenue matters. Profits matter. Okay. So here's my revenues, here's my profits, here's where everything is at, here's everything that's been done to hit this number. Now you have to look at it and go, okay, where do I want to be 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, 4 years from now, 10 years from now, whatever horizon or vision you want to target. Okay. Once you know exactly the destination you want to go to, then you need to reverse engineer it all the way back to where you are right now. And then you need to list out, okay, what is the one thing that I can implement? Because basically everything I've done to get up to this point, I'm going to keep doing. Okay. And when I look at, I do this every twice a year consistently. I look at my baseline, here's everything. And I look at, okay, I'm going to continue to do what I've been doing. However, I put it through a filter. Is there any of these systems I can eliminate that I no longer need? Number 2, is there any systems that I can automate, delegate, or outsource? Okay. Number 3, what can I add to my baseline? What is one thing I can add? Now, I might have a laundry list of 25 things. And through a process of elimination, I want to figure out one thing that I can add to my baseline because I'm going to continue to do the things that are working and I'm going to add something new. I'm going to put a way of measuring it. I'm going to create strategies to make sure it's successful. I'm going to create action plans to implement that to make sure it's successful. And then I'm going to have a way of measuring it. But the biggest problem that most business owners have is they try to go at it alone. And we need mentors. You'll get there so much quicker. Like everything I'm talking about, Jay, everything you're talking about, you can find on a YouTube video. I mean, let's be honest. You can find, if I wanted to, create a potato gun, I can find a YouTube video on it. I know, because Russell Brunson, that's how he started ClickFunnels.
Yep.
He created a video series called How to Build a Potato Gun. And he figured out he reverse engineered it and created a funnel to lead people to buy his video on how to create a potato gun. And then he took that, oh my God, it worked. Well, I want to repeat what worked. And then I want to add something to it. So there's 3 resources that I just absolutely have fallen in love with. They're the only 3 books I've been digesting for over a year. Okay. First one, 10X is easier than 2X by Dan Sullivan, written by Dr. Benjamin Hardy. Get the audio and the book, because on the audio, at the end of every chapter, he interviews Dan Sullivan about that chapter, and I don't think that's in the book. Okay. Number 2, the biggest breakthrough book I've had in my entire 55 years of being alive and 34 years of being in business was part of that 3-part life. I'm considering this his legacy 3 books, right? Like the 3 most important books he's ever written in his entire life. Like this is the culmination of everything he's done into 3 really good, just unbelievable resources. And the book is called The Gap and the Game by Dan Sullivan, written by Dr. Benjamin Hardy. Same thing. He followed the same system, same format. Benjamin Hardy read it, interviewed Dan at the end of the book. And I will tell you, I mean, I thought How to Win Friends and Influence People had an impact on my life, which it did. I read that book, I don't know, 50, 60 times. This book right here is probably the biggest game changer I personally have ever had. Because we're taught in this world, here's where we're at. Here's where we want to go. And then 6 months or a year or 2 years from now, we find ourselves here, not where we wanted to be. And we beat the living crap out of ourselves instead of celebrating the gain that we actually have achieved. We're so focused on the gap, what we didn't do, and we waste so much time here that we don't measure what we actually succeeded with so we can reset the baseline and set a new goal. And I tell you, dude, like you've known me for a while. Like I told my wife, I said, I'll be back. Like I got in my truck, I put it on audio, I turned off my cell phone, turned it on airplane mode, and I took off up Highway 80, went all the way up to Reno, came back down, went through Nevada City, came back down, went down to Stockton, came back down. I think it's 6.5 hours I drove listening to this book. There was a lot, I'll just be transparent. There was a lot of emotional moments listening to that book. Because all my life growing up, my dad was a tow truck driver, my mom was a waitress, and this world got a hold of me. And so many people beat themselves up for not achieving their goal. And then ultimately they find themselves, when they're 80 years old, with telling lots and lots of stories of I shoulda, coulda, woulda, or war stories about something they did 35 years ago. And that's how we're conditioned in this world, is to not celebrate the fact that we are different today than we were a month ago. And so that would be the biggest breakthrough book that I would recommend. And then ultimately, the next book is the Who, Not How book. It's called Who, Not How. Now, the way they were written in order is The Gap in the Game, Who, Not How, 10x is easier than 2x. But I would tell you, man, you want to triple, quadruple your business, 10x your business over the next 18 months, those are the only 3 I would digest. In order to actually 10x, now a lot of people think Grant Cardone was like Mr. 10x. He did not invent 10x. Dan Sullivan did. Okay. Way more back when Grant was like only 20s. Yeah. And so in order to go 10x in any area of your life, you have to let go of 80% of what you're currently doing. I had to listen to that over and over and over again. And I literally was like, I mean, I was informed, but I was also upset, and I was also frustrated because I'm a man, and most men have control issues. We like to control things. We like to fix things. We like to be in charge. And this guy's telling me I have to let go of 80% and trust people. And so the person that you become in the process of pursuing your new goal is where the true reward and value is. Okay. Christ said it this way. Narrow is the gate that leads to heaven. Wide is the gate that leads to hell. Most people don't want to do and live a life differently than they were living before. And as a result, if you read the section in the book in Matthew, it's in the Sermon on the Mount. Okay. And as a result, a lot of people left. A lot of people stopped following because it's difficult. It's just like successful business owners. We see all over the news right now. It's like Trump's in office, and we got Tesla, but if you read the history of where Elon Musk came from and the struggle he had to go through to get to where he's at, all of us business owners have to do that. If everybody could succeed at business, everybody would be successful at business. But the stuff I'm talking about today, this is hard shit, to be quite honest. Okay. So my answer to your question is this: get a baseline where you're at. It's good that you're not satisfied, because that means you're open to new ways of doing things. Sit with it, map out a plan, come up with all kinds of ideas, take a couple of hours to yourself. Once you feel like you got that nailed down, get with your mentor, call me. I'm your freaking buddy, dude. Okay. I'll sit with you. Being friends with John Pyron has its privileges because I don't need to charge you. Okay. I'll give you a strategy session. We'll map it out. And then you go out and you be you. And you're going to grow and you're going to expand your business and you're going to have that breakthrough. And then when you get stuck again, where you're like, man, I know there's more. You just repeat the process. It's a system. Okay. And you compound it over years, over years, over years, over years. And then you look back and you go, oh my God, I can't believe where I'm at today. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay. How are we doing on the time here? Okay, cool. All right. What other questions do we have? Okay. So I want you to go back. Here's my challenge to you. Do it this week. If you haven't done it before, don't beat yourself up. Draw a line. Today is the first day of the rest of your life. Okay. Draw a line in the sand. Get a baseline where you're at. Read 10 pages a day. Listen to audio every day. Associate with people. Get a mentor. Okay. If you don't have one, go to johnpyron.com. Click on book appointment. I'd love to talk to you. Go to kingdomimpactconsultinggroup.com. Click on book appointment. Talk to Danielle. Plenty of help out there. But I will tell you this: 5 years from now will be determined by those three things. A year from now you'll be where you are a year from now will be determined by those three things. Okay. So go out and make it happen. And I hope this has been valuable. Share this podcast, like this podcast and share it with everybody you know. Okay. And go out and make it happen and show up to the live call so we can give you some live coaching and